Hello everyone, this is EGWwrites, the author and creator and voice of Lady Eilean. This audiobook video is a companion piece to the novel Lady Eilean, which is available to read for free at wattpad.com. You can find this book and a handful of others on my profile. To view that, please visit wattpad.com/EGWwrites. Two quick housekeeping notes before we get started. Number one, this book will contain adult content, so listener discretion is advised. Please use headphones or listen privately. Number two, I live in New York City, and as much as possible, will try to edit around city sounds like sirens, car alarms, shouting, traffic, and etc. But sometimes there is no avoiding it. My apartment is a little too small for a recording booth. Thank you for your patience. Now, grab a cup of coffee or tea, snuggle up, and let's read. Lady Eilean, Chapter 32. Lord Leslie's gift was quite practical, Callum said as we crossed through the foyer. The party sounds echoed behind us. It was nice to feel the castle alive and joyful again. The ledgers? I asked. Yes, they are very beautiful. As lovely as the woman who will now fill them with her fanatical accounting. I cackled at this and swatted Callum's arm. Don't start with the flattery, Callum. You had your chance in the tent and gave it up. Tipping my head forward, I tried to concentrate on walking in a straight line. Wine. Too much wine. Oh, trust me, Callum said with a purr. I'm not a masochist. I'm not even entering the race. We arrived at the corridor that led to my chambers and rounded the corner. After a few steps, Callum halted, gently stopping me. He motioned to a nearby bench and bade me sit. I did so, somewhat perplexed by his aims. My rooms were only a few feet away. The hallway was clear. Not a servant or straggler to be seen. The faint tinkle of music from the great hall was still audible in the air. Callum sat down beside me, his demeanor grave. I know you rarely hear news of your family, he said, sliding his hand up and down his thighs. He seemed nervous, and I had never known Callum to be nervous. It sobered me up quickly. No, only the brief letter Ian sent with you when you arrived here. Otherwise, not a word since they left. Callum frowned, but then his entire face drooped, and he shook his head, as if he pitied me. I recoiled from it. What is going on? Callum? Callum had displayed swaying moods of despondency and darkness before, but this was different. The air was sharp and my vision a touch too clear. Cold, fearful weariness swirled within me. I have news, he whispered, his voice breaking. Bad news. A howling wind rang through my ears and the world seemed to sway. Without knowing what he would say, tears blurred my vision, as if my body already knew. How bad? I've been sending letters. Lots of them. Inquiries to every man I know at the front. I was desperate to bring you information as a birthday present. A dark, humorless chuckle escaped from him. Only one man replied. Today, in fact. Callum had left lunch in a rush after thumbing through a stack of letters. There was a hollow cold in my gut. My fingers went numb. He pulled a rumpled, weather-worn letter from his coat pocket and handed it to me. I didn't want... His eyes found me and they shone with sincerity. I wanted you to have a wonderful birthday. You deserved that. A night of happiness. I couldn't spoil it for you, but honor compels me to be honest. A tear slipped down his cheek. I'm so sorry to ruin your night, but I had to tell you before you got back to your chambers and read whatever is in that note delivered to you during the party. The news may be the same. I took the letter with stiff fingers. The parchment was so thin and soft, more like a simple textile. The ink bled through the page and the wax seal had left stains that smeared the ink. Dear Sir, pursuant to your request to learn of Laird Malcolm MacLeod and his family, I am duty-bound to inform you, with great regret, that there has been no knowledge of his regiment's location or activity since the battle at the capital. All of Laird MacLeod's forces are assumed dead. You cannot know how apologetic I am to be the bearer of this information. I understand you are quite close with the MacLeod girl, the surviving daughter at Stormway. Your servant, Laird Jonathan MacLeese. A monstrous sob overtook me. I thought I might faint. The words, mere blots on the page, could not say what they did. It was a trick, a game, a farce. I read it again and again until the smeared ink burned into my eyes like a brand. The message stamped itself across my soul, rewrote the entire understanding of my existence. Up was down, everything was nothing. Thousands of men, I said through trembling lips. Thousands of men. Gone. The night air was balmy, but I shook with a violent chill. Tears clung to my eyelashes and made my vision quiver. Their semi-dry tracks down my cheeks itched. What? There was so much to do, and yet I couldn't fathom past my next breath. We can act, now, Callum said with a rigidity and clarity overtaking him. He had a head start on my confusion and grief. Act? If your heart is still undecided, I will marry you. For protection. You can keep Lord Leslie as a lover if you wish. Protection? I shook my head. His words made no sense in my sluggish state. Callum took my hand. There was a note of apology in his creased brow. Elmsmere is at risk without an heir. When the war ends and the island men come home, your land will be a tempting treasure for a laird fresh from the field of battle. But the war could go on forever. It's already been 3, 4 years? My intelligence suggests it will be over soon. You have 6 months, maybe a year if you're lucky. It was all too much to think about. The war, ending, my family, dead, Elmsmere entire population of menfolk, gone, Stormway, no longer mine. I gave in completely to the pure fright that smashed into me. I sobbed, my breath coming in large, hiccuping gasps. Callum tucked me against his shoulder, muttering nonsense words of comfort and stroking my back until I could compose myself. I suppose I have a third present, he whispered into my hair, rocking me back and forth. A confession. I'd gripped the lapel of his jacket as if my life depended on it. If my hand slipped and I lost control of the smooth fabric wound around my fingers, I would be lost forever. An unmoored ship in a fog. I didn't ask what his confession might be, but Callum started talking. What he told me surprised me. The hallway pitched and swayed as I learned the truth of why he had come to Stormway all those years ago. The survival of a battle that had evidently wiped out my entire family. My heart pounded against my ribs with every word. Cool sweat beaded along my torso where my stays pressed into my flesh. The new linen shift soaked through and clammy against my skin. I was faint, feverish. I might have been mad. Once he finished his tale, Callum again offered me himself as a husband, if that was what I wanted. That's generous, I said, my voice ragged. I will need time to think. Of course, my lady, he said, bowing over me, his chin pressing into my shoulder. His reassuring dramatics made me laugh. The sound was rough and soulless. He held my hand, though I did not remember offering it. I was thankful for the physical tether to the world, to him. Emptiness roared all around me, threatening to consume me. The numbness, my old familiar phantom of mist and obscurity, slithered along my bones within my mind, ready to eat my thoughts and silence my tongue. Desperate, I looked up at Callum. Will you do something? I had to keep the fear and the desolation from devouring me whole. Yes, he breathed, looking at me with clear eyes and a relaxed face. It was perhaps his actual face, seen for the first time. Handsome, but easy, calm. His eyes weren't teasing or haunted. They were all-knowing. They always had been. Aware, alert, sparkling. As black as pitch, as deep as an abyss I wanted to throw myself into. A retreat, a surrender, a dungeon where I'd never be found. He knew what I would ask. Concern was tied around his temple, as if he saw the threat of my extinction and didn't want to spook me by letting on that he was aware of the void pulling me down, deep, away. Kiss me. It was a desperate plea, but it came out all wrong. I sounded curious, wondering. Callum blinked, a mock surprise for my mistake. And then he obliged. Gently tugging us forward by our clasped hands, he pressed a gentle, obliging kiss to my lips. And I felt nothing. The numbness had spread from my mind to my face. My body was stone. I was nothing. I pulled away and bit my bottom lip, eager to feel anything. Pressure, not pain, was all I felt. I'm sorry, I said as a fresh wave of tears cascaded down my cheeks. Callum shook his head and choked on a laugh. A few stray tears spilled from his eyes. His cheeks were flushed, and he struggled to meet my gaze. Do not apologize, he said, batting away the drops that clung to his chin. I looked down and saw that hateful letter in my lap. With a grunt, I captured it into a fist and balled it up. My lady, I think it best that I leave you now, Callum said. Yes, thank you. Already I could note the dullness in my voice, as if I spoke from a very far-away distance. Callum stood and smoothed his waistcoat. Rather gently, he placed his hand on the top of my head, then slid his hand down to cup my cheek, urging me to look up at him. Try to get some sleep, he whispered. I nodded, feeling stupid and childish and needing guidance, eager to be obedient and out of the way. With a tragic smile, Callum walked away. Only when the hallway had grown cold and dark, the candles burnt down to stubs, did I stand and enter my own rooms. Dismissing the maid waiting there, I fell into a trance in front of the fire. Thank you so much for listening today. I hope you enjoyed the story. Subscribe to this channel and click the notification bell to be alerted when new chapters are updated. You can also follow me on Wattpad or Twitter at EGWwrites, where I will also share updates. As always, thank you for being a part of Eilean's journey. We are very glad that you're here. Until next time.